An unprecedented government default is off the table, but another battle is already on the horizon. Now lawmakers have to figure out how to cut $1.2 trillion more dollars out of the deficit over the next decade. After the Senate passed an emergency bill to raise the debt ceiling, President Obama signed it into law. The president and Democrats were disappointed with the concessions they made to reach the deal. The big issue is that the new law doesn't include any tax increases.
We don't believe, and the American people don't believe, that raising taxes, job-killing tax increases in the middle of this serious recession is a direction we ought to take.
For more, we're joined from Washington by Politico senior editor David Mark. David, good morning to you.
Good morning. Good to be with you.
Good to be with you as well. Did anyone come out of this compromise a winner?
I think if anybody came out a winner, it was actually the Republican conservative philosophy. This whole debate was predicated on cutting spending rather than raising taxes. That's what Republicans wanted, and for the most part, that's what they got.
What about the Tea Party?
I think the Tea Party largely came out ahead of this. They were driving this whole debate about cutting spending, slashing federal programs. They're getting a good chunk of it. Even though the devil is still in the details, we don't know precisely really what will be cut in the end.
So the debt ceiling issue now is over. Now we go to this budget battle that is about to begin with this super committee. They have to find another $1.2 trillion to cut over the next decade. What's on the table?
Well, the hope is that by having only 12 members there, 6 from the House, 6 from the Senate, they'll be more focused on making some of the tough choices, whether it's really cutting spending, cutting some popular programs, or potentially raising taxes.
That was my next question. So do you see that as an option? Do you think tax increases are on the table here?
I don't think we'll see an increase in marginal rates that individuals and businesses pay. What could be on the table are closing some of these loopholes that President Obama has talked about, whether they're for oil companies, the tax breaks that corporate jet owners get, some of the other ones. Maybe even flattening out the tax code a bit, changing some of the rate structures, even if it's not marginal rates. So I think there is some room for tax adjustment.
You know, the president signed this legislation into law with 10 hours and 10 minutes before this nation lost its borrowing authority. Do you think even with this super committee, we'll see the same kind of gridlock happen all over again?
We won't be facing the same sort of looming deadline in which the full faith and the credit of the U.S. is on the line, although that date seems somewhat arbitrary. The hope, again, is with only 12 members, they'll be able to reach some kind of agreement. Really, though, it just comes down to who's appointed. If the leaders on the Republican side appoint only anti-tax zealots, you're not going to get any compromise. If Democrats only appoint far-left liberals, there's going to be no compromise. So it's a matter of who they really want to send to the table in the first place.
And, of course, those automatic triggers, they kick in with this debate as well. How does that play into everything?
The interesting thing about those automatic triggers is it includes defense. That's something that's given Republicans a lot of heartburn. They were very reluctant to slash defense spending. That really actually held up the bill in the final hours. Depending how one defines defense, there may be some room for cuts. It would also hurt Democrats, though, because they do not want to see Medicare cut at all, and these triggers would actually cut into some Medicare programs. So both parties have something to lose.
You know, many Democrats were upset that they were unhappy with the president and how he handled this, saying that he didn't go hard enough on taxes. Do you think he'll have a hard or a difficult time getting his liberal base back when it comes to elections?
I think really when it comes down to it, they have nowhere else to go. President Obama is not going to face a serious primary challenge from the left. I think he actually kind of knows that he has the liberal part of his party in his pocket. They just don't have a lot of choice but to stick with him or potentially see a Republican recapture the White House.
And now that the debt deal has been signed into law, the president says he wants to get back to focusing on jobs. Do you think he can shake this and get back to the agenda?
I think he can put the debt deal behind him because it's not really a fight he ever really wanted. I think he actually came out of it okay, even if his liberal supporters are angry with him. What he does on jobs, though, is much tougher. The administration has already tried a big stimulus plan. That didn't seem to have much effect. The Federal Reserve has been printing money. That hasn't done a lot. Interest rates are near zero. None of these measures have really helped much. So I think the the issue of jobs is going to be the number one challenge for President Obama heading into 2012.
And we go back to the debt ceiling here one more time. You know, this is something that's done regularly. It's relatively routine when we look back at the past and when this has happened. Do you think the rest of the world is losing confidence in the U.S. and its economy?
So far, the ratings agencies don't seem to be downgrading U.S. debt. That's a reason for optimism. One thing that is worrisome is that the stock market was down the day after the debt ceiling agreement came into being. That's something to worry over. I think what differentiates the U.S. from other countries is the problem is not structural the way it is, say, in Greece, Ireland, Portugal, Italy, some other places. Here it was a matter of politicians just not being able to agree with each other. Once they did, though, the debt ceiling was raised and the U.S. still has that authority to borrow.
And quickly, one more thing, David. You know, this is something that we're beginning to see time and time again, waiting to the 11th hour to get something accomplished in Washington. Is this the new presidents that we're going to see in the future in terms of getting things done?
I'm afraid it is. As long as we have this kind of divided government, we have a Republican House, narrowly Democratic Senate, and of course a Democratic president, it's the nature of that kind of gridlocked democracy. I think we're going to see this a lot. We've seen this now 3 times in just the past 7 months, and it's not something really to look forward to.
So it looks like we're going to be talking a lot more often. Politico's David Mark joining us this morning. David, thank you so much.
Thank you.